Hola y bienvenidos al podcast Un gato en tierra de perros, vuestra referencia para la política estadounidense, la cultura y mucho más. Hello, I'm Joe Magaha. Thank you, friends, for being with me for another episode of Un Gato en Tierra de Perros. Today I have with me Mr. Darren Stallcup. Welcome, Darren.
Hey, how you guys doing today? It's a pleasure to be here on the show, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share my story with the world. How you feeling, Joe?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a nice Cesar Chavez day, so I'm just chilling. It's a little overcast here in Southern California, which is weird. It doesn't feel like spring necessarily. It's usually
Yeah, for once it's sunny here and overcast down there, huh?
yeah, exactly. Well, I've been following you on X a lot, and I understand you have a book that's coming out this summer. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We got a lot going on here in San Francisco. I got my debut autobiography releasing as an ebook and paperback. The autobiography is self-titled World Peace, and essentially it's the chronicles of my odyssey, hitchhiking northeast, south, and west across the United States of America. My experiences in Northern California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, as well as a few chapters from Michigan, North Dakota, New York City, Boston. Long story short, my house burned down to the ground when I was a kid, and started hitchhiking across the country. And before I was 25, I found myself in an Eskimo village on the Arctic Ocean of Alaska, underneath the Northern Lights. So, yeah, it's going to be a really great book to say the least, and I'm really excited to share my story with the world. And just coming on this show is a huge opportunity for me as well, and I'm really grateful to be here. And if anyone's interested in supporting my book or reading my book, just search up World Peace Movement and you should find me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's wild. Hitchhiking. I did a lot of that when I lived in Israel for a year back, I think probably before you were born, from 84 to
Beautiful.
85. And even back then it was kind of not seen as super safe, but I was broke, so it was an easy way to get around the country. Um, but yeah, back in the 70s, that was how everybody traveled, is like the 60s and 70s. I think like serial killers and maybe the Manson family kind of put a
Zodiac
kibosh on it.
Killer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They kind of could
There
have
were a
put the
few
kibosh on.
few bad apples in the hitchhiking era, definitely, and yeah, I would say sticking your thumb out on the road is few and far in between nowadays. I guess you could say I'm one of the last hippies, but they did have that hippie trail from it goes from like Scotland all the way through France and Germany and Turkey and Israel, all the way to like India and Tibet. There's like this trail that goes all the way across Europe and the Middle East. So I'm glad someone got to experience that. I hope to travel that part of the world here soon. I had to take a step back. I can't really travel to the Middle East. I went to Turkey. I really want to go to Israel and walk where Jesus walked, but right now I just want to take a step back. There's a lot going on in the region. I'm not fluent in either of the languages, so uh, best to play it safe.
Yeah, well, you can definitely get by with English in Israel. But yeah, it's a crazy country. It's been at war the entire time it's been in existence. It was at war while I was there, but uh you don't really see it in the day to day necessarily. Yeah, but it's crazy and it's terrible what's been happening. I feel for the Gazans, for the Palestinians. I feel for the Israelis. It's just a situation where there I'm glad I didn't move there permanently. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Um, Hey, I gotta say, I think people of all races and religions are awesome, but every tree has a few bad apples. I mean, I'm a Christian or Catholic, whatever you want to call me, but I have friends that are Jewish and Muslim, and I've met people that are good and bad from every, you know, uh, religion or race or creed or whatever. And it's actually pretty sad when you consider the fact that the leaders, the prophets of Christianity, of Islam, or if you're into the old Testament, if you're a follower of Moses, if you're Jewish, if you're Orthodox, unorthodox, who knows, right? Even the Muslims, they have this the Shia and the Sunni. The Christians have the Catholics and the Christians, and there's also all these other tiny, smaller groups. And when there's so many different people of all walks of life in one area, it can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. And unfortunately, from what I'm able to determine from my short 25 years of existence on this earth, it seems like every time I open up a history book, no matter if it's the 1900s, 1800s, 1700s, we can go back 3,000 years. There's a scuffle in the sand happening, and I just want to see that part of the world be at peace. I think Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, I think they would all agree that we should not be killing each other. But with that said, there are some people over there. They're chanting death to America, and I'm not okay with that. I don't feel comfortable with that at all whatsoever. And I do believe those apples should be sorted out. And I think probably the most relevant and latest up to date information I saw recently was the in the Palestinian neighborhoods, they were chanting anti Hamas uh, songs for once. So it's like that was a major step forward because we're seeing the Palestinians separate themselves from the Islamic extremists who want to jihad everybody. And I think that was a major step forward towards peace because, I mean, everybody loves the Palestinians, but I mean, those Hamas guys, they're extremely violent. And hey, you may or may not be oppressed by Israel. You may or may not be, who knows what, right? Who knows who, what, where, when, and why. But at the end of the day, um, you got to play nice. And if you don't play nice, there's always going to be a bigger fish in the pond to humble you.
Yeah,
I'm
for
trying to
sure.
think of any I'm trying to think of any like personal experiences. I don't want to get too off topic. I know we are discussing things happening in the USA, but yeah, sending love to the Middle East, sending love to people of all races and religions. I want there to be peace between Israel and Palestine. I believe the Jewish people and the Muslim people have more in common than different, but unfortunately, there's a few bad apples who are extremely violent, and they have to get sorted out. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I
Well,
apologize for my ignorance.
oh, no worries. I think the majority of us are ignorant to a certain extent on all these issues because there's so much going on in the world, and it's better, to admit that or accept that than to make up something, which is what a lot of people do. A lot of people will see a clip on TikTok and they think they know the whole issue from that, and they'll say
Yeah,
ridiculous things, like it's not complicated over there. You're either for genocide or you're not for genocide. Well, it's a lot more complicated than that,
it's
and
really concerning too, man. My generation, they're taking all the information they learned from TikTok instead of reading a book. I'd like to see somebody on TikTok read about the Crusades or something. Just actually read a book about that area, and instead they're getting their information from somebody who got their information also from TikTok, and so it's kind of like an echo chamber, actually. Yeah, what would I say to the people who are my age? What would I say to the youth who are concerned about what's happening in the Holy Land? I would say the territory known as Jerusalem has been passed around like a prostitute at a brothel. I mean, I can't tell you how many different empires have maintained dominion over Jerusalem in the last 5,000 years. I mean, you got the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Hittites, so forth, so on. Man, until the Greeks and the Romans and the caliphates and the crusades. There's like 8 crusades, 7 crusades. Um, and so, yeah, I know there's been a few periods of peace in that region of the world, but there's been more war than peace, unfortunately. I would like to say everybody needs to study the city of Jerusalem, regardless of whatever faith or race or religion they are. They have to understand that city is one of the most, if not the most important cities in the world. And it's important to Christians, to Catholics, to Jewish people, to Muslims, to the Greeks, to Italians, the Egyptians. I mean, this this
yeah,
place is like the center of the world, actually. So yeah, it's hard to explain and it's hard to understand. I would say that's a it's more of a conversation for a historian, definitely. But as an amateur historian, I understand Jerusalem has been conquered and sacked more times than I have fingers on my hands.
Yeah, yeah. I lived in Jerusalem for a while.
And
I
it's a
moved
nice
around Israel.
place too. It's beautiful. It's just like
It's
the USA.
beautiful. I like
They
it
have
so
women and
much better
children
than
walking around. You go down to the
yeah.
grocery store. You know, in some ways, it's a lot safer than San Francisco because I go to the grocery. We'll probably get to that here in just
Yeah.
a second. But yeah, there's some beautiful places in Israel. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about it. Actually, I would like to hear about it. How was your
Well,
experience in Israel?
my experience in Israel was in the 80s, so I was a break dancer and that
Ooh,
was like super popular back then. So it was a
dude.
different time, let's say. But I loved it. The food is great. The weather is like Southern
Mm.
California. And I
It's
mean
like
if
San
it
Diego, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, and they have amazing beaches. They have if you go down to Eilat, you can go snorkeling and there's different tropical fish. It's beautiful. It would be like the one of the biggest probably vacation spots in the Middle East if it wasn't for all the troubles, and a lot of people do still
Instability
go.
in the region.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I loved it. The people, it was a fun place to be as a young person. I met a lot of interesting people from all over the world. That's one thing is that there's a lot of people that come there from all over the place. So you end up meeting people from Latin America, from Africa, from all over, and I loved it. Yeah, it was
It
fascinating.
was an international travel destination for sure. It can still be. They just got to slow down the program a little bit. And I guess I would say one more thing before we move on from the top, unless we can double back, that'd be great. I love discussing things over and over again because you never know what hidden meaning or truth you might find or realizations you may come across. Um, if somebody from the Mexican cartel, let's say there's a festival going on in San Diego, right? Somebody from the Mexican cartel, and I'm talking like, let's say 20 or 50 guys, they come running in with assault rifles and they start shooting college students. You bet your ass the United States military is going to be in Mexico the next day. So I think it's really important for people to understand that although in war there's always a winner and a loser, and technically nobody wins, you gotta be careful of who you mess with, right? If you're a leader of a group, if you're a president of a country, and you know your neighbor's got a bigger stick than you, it might be conducive of you to kind of maybe take a different path forward. And well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I
all
think
water under the bridge, huh? Blood on the sand.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I mean there's so much that went into October 7th and it really I have a lot of questions about it because it was just weird how it went down. And normally something like that wouldn't happen because that's the most watched border in the world. And
Yeah,
you know,
I think it was a very stupid decision on the behalf of those jihadists or whatever they want to call themselves. So yeah, seeing the Palestinians singing songs of peace, denouncing Hamas, I think those are the best videos I've seen out of that area in a long time, and it finally gave me a sense of hope for the Palestinian people because I've been waiting for them to separate themselves from Hamas for such a long time. And now that they are, I really think it's going to open the door to a beautiful future. I mean, the future of Palestine is bright, definitely, and the world wants to help them. And I think Israel feels a responsibility to help their neighbor. And I think perhaps the worst has already happened, and every day, maybe just maybe, things are slowly but surely getting better.
fingers crossed. Yeah, it's one of those things where you never know. It can go from good to bad overnight, but I hope it does just get better. Speaking of getting better, well,
My
as
mental health isn't really getting better living in San Francisco.
I was gonna say, you grew up mostly in California, is that right?
Born and raised San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California. However, like I said, when I was in high school, I was a teenager. My house burned down to the ground, and I came to San Francisco with nothing but the clothes on my back and a backpack. And I was they had a skyscraper under construction. And instead of camping out on the streets, I actually would set my tent up in the then under construction Moscow Center, which was essentially just a skeleton of a building, just steel and concrete. And if every morning I got up before 5 a.m. and left before the construction guys, there wasn't any problems. It's not like I was shitting where I was eating. By the way, I'm gonna try not to cuss on your show. I'm pretty
Oh, you
sure
can
you want.
cuss. You can cuss all you
I
want.
usually keep it PG. I usually keep it PG, anyways. I'm not a big cusser, but sometimes a sailor word does slip out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man, I was a germaphobe before the pandemic. And I seen personally, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. And by the way, to your audience, to your listeners, my apologies. The other day, I was supposed to come on the show and speak. I got caught up in some crazy stuff here in San Francisco. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. But I do want to say I love you all, and I appreciate your patience and your leniency. Most times, that hey, Joe's a really cool guy because most guys doing podcasts, if you miss that interview, you're done. You're excommunicated. You're ostracized. Joe, he gave me a second chance, and I really appreciate it, man. I know my manners are off. My grammar's a little, I don't know, man. I have a little bit of PTSD. I struggle to form sentences. Just getting flashbacks sitting right here.
No worries, no worries. When I reach out to somebody to be on the show, it's because I've already found that they're interesting and I want to talk to them. So, and a lot of people, unfortunately, have a lot going on these days. So, stuff comes up. I had a guest a few weeks ago cancel, um, and
I
his
hope they were in
daughter
the hospital or something.
his daughter was in the hospital. Yeah, his
Oh,
daughter was in the hospital. Yeah, and so you never know. You never know. So I don't ever take it personally, and I know that everybody's got a lot going on. And what usually happens is we have a conversation later that ends up being fascinating. So it's all worthwhile. You know.
yeah, I love this podcast, man. It's refreshing to speak with somebody who has the humility to allow somebody to make those honest mistakes. Somebody who's humble enough to allow somebody to share their story with the world. And you, by the way, to people listening, I didn't get a script. There's no preference questions or anything. We're all doing this raw off the top of our heads, which is how it should be. I think it'll be most entertaining and educational, hopefully. My message to the kids is simple: don't do drugs. Listen to mom and dad. Even when they're wrong, they're right. Stay in school. And grandma and grandpa are cooler than anybody on the internet. That's for sure. Grandma and grandpa are cooler than everybody on the internet, like all of them combined.
No
Okay, so
doubt.
what's my story?
Well, I was wondering
Okay.
what have you noticed that's changed in California since you were a kid to now,
Yeah.
and is it getting better or is it getting worse? And I mean, it can be both in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you have to have a duality, a sense of duality, or you will lose your mind when it comes to just even attempting to comprehend what's actually happening in the Golden State. Uh, Long story short, man, growing up in the Bay Area, growing up in San Francisco, I've personally seen San Francisco go from being the cultural capital of the world, peace, hope, and love, art, music, people of all walks of life, the Berkeley College, uh, to, and perhaps this is why, but I've seen it go from being the cultural capital of the world to the technological capital of the world. And Silicon Valley, Apple, all that jazz, all those bells and whistles. And I saw the world around me. Let me just restart on that part, just so we can get a decent sound clip for the audience. Growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, I have personally seen our community go from being the cultural capital of the world, art, music, culture, people from all walks of life, to the technological capital of the world. Silicon Valley, Apple, all those bells and whistles, to what now seems like ground zero for both homelessness and the fentanyl crisis in the United States of America. Now, that's not to say we aren't capable of becoming Cerebral Valley. That's not to say we aren't the artificial intelligence capital of the world. But it is to say, you know, as big of a light there is in Silicon Valley, there is a shadow too, and that shadow, as you may know, and anyone who follows me, can be pretty dark sometime. Um, it's It's honestly like being in Israel 3,000, 2,000 years ago, actually. It's like everything San Francisco does, Palo Alto, not so much Oakland, I guess. Maybe if they can make some music or art or food or something. But right now, it's kind of like a war zone. It's like Oakland's our Gaza Strip, and it's really bad. I mean, LA's pretty bad too, but I kind of focus on Northern California. But yeah, sending love to LA for sure. San Diego's nice. Um, think, man, what's going on? We have billions of dollars. We have countless billion-dollar. We have over $1 trillion in assets when you think about all the different billion-dollar companies here in Palo Alto. I mean, you got all these billionaires walking around. You have all these doctors. There's over 2,500 doctors living in the city of San Francisco alone. I guess you're gonna have to try to get me to focus today, man. It's a lot to unpack. It's a
Oh,
lot
no
to unroll
worries, no
out.
worries. Yeah, basically, I mean, I get the gist of it because I have seen a lot of there've been a lot of changes to laws and also
Yeah,
a huge overgrowth of homeless people and of drugs in the streets. Um, and I know that you've been kind of trying to stop a lot of crime because there's been a lot of theft in different stores, and I know you've taken it upon
I'm kind of
yourself
losing
to.
my marbles. Yeah, I'm kind of losing my marbles. Just fighting the good fight out here. How did it go from being the technological capital of the world to ground zero for homelessness and fentanyl? I appreciate you keeping me in line. I struggle with my ADHD from time to time, and I didn't take any pills before this podcast, nor did I write any speeches or prepare. This is all from the heart, and yeah, you guys are getting the raw, unfiltered world peace movement. Yeah, I guess, hey, before I was around, before the last hippie, there used to be that age old notion, hitchhike to San Francisco. You had folks from New York City and Boston, Florida, I guess, yeah. In order to answer what's happening in the world around me, I guess I could just share my own story, huh?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, the
exactly.
age old notion, hitchhike across the United States of America. You had people. There was that age old notion, hitchhike to San Francisco. You had guys from New York City and Boston and Florida, Canada, Europe, Argentina, coming to San Francisco for the summer of love, and we have always been a place that welcomes people of all races and religions from all walks of life. Come as you are. Um, bring your hungry, bring your poor. And for a while, that worked. That was sustainable. We had enough land, we had enough resources, the Golden State in all her beauty and abundance. Uh, and next thing you know, man, between the 80s and the 90s, we went from, you know, gold rush boom state to economic world powerhouse. I mean, California, I think last time I checked, maybe not anymore with Gavin Newsom as mayor. I mean, governor. Sorry, he used to be mayor of San Francisco too. Jesus. Um, I think California competes on a global level
Oh
when
yeah,
it comes
yeah.
to the economy. I'm pretty sure we may or may not be producing a little more or a little less than London, England, to say the least.
Or
We're
yeah,
up there.
some countries. Yeah, we're like
Oh,
seven.
you're living in California too?
Yeah, I'm in Southern
No
California. Yeah,
way,
yeah,
dude! Oh
yeah.
my god! I thought you
Yeah.
were in Texas.
No, 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 no. Yeah, that's funny. I have family from Texas. My dad's from Dallas, but no, I grew up here. I was born in Spain, but I've lived here since I was small. And I've seen a lot of changes. And yeah, like you said, I mean, yeah, basically we're like the seventh largest economy in the world. We could be there are two states in the country that could be their own country, Texas and California because of our size, because of our resources.
And
Yeah,
our
so
state constitutions, definitely.
yeah.
But that's the thing. I really don't want to separate from the union. I want to save California. But
Yeah.
how did it get to the point where it needed saving? Is what you're wanting me to get at. I keep getting off topic. I'm easily distracted. Yeah, there's a lot going on. As a young man, I got a lot of things to focus on. It's kind of if you're not losing your marbles, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
So
mean, when Gavin Newsom came in, Newsom, I said Newsom, my
Newscomb,
mind. Yeah,
nuisance,
when
Newsom.
Nuisance, yeah, when he came in, we had a surplus of money, and now
Yeah,
we have a deficit we owe, and there, LA just requested like I think 7 million more for the homeless problem, and they haven't really done anything to speak
yeah.
of, because they keep on making these claims that it's going down. But I work in downtown LA, and I see if it's going down, you wouldn't know it on the streets, you know.
And that's what brings me to my next point. My next few points, actually, may I say. All the people come in from all walks of life from around the world, all that culture and sharing of ideas, it led to a technology boom. Uh, and next thing you know, Silicon Valley, the cell phones. I mean, for the first time in the history of the world, human beings have the collective knowledge of humanity in the palms of their hands, at the tips of their fingers. And we're all familiar, or I hope at least, with the Aesop fable, the story of the dog who got caught up in its own reflection. Um, a woman, an Eskimo woman on the Arctic Ocean of Alaska, once told me, and I've been repeating it like a broken record ever since. I mean, the last 10 years. These cell phones are triple mirrors. We're getting caught up in our own reflections, twicefold, to say the least. And hey, I want to talk about all the great things, but let's be honest. These cell phones are just as powerful as they are destructive, in such a way that right now is a do or die time moment for humanity. It's a pivotal moment for all of civilization. Either we use this technology to liberate ourselves once and for all, or our oppressors will use the same technology to control the masses once and for all. So it really is a pivotal moment in history. I'm looking at my cell phone while I'm talking. It's such a crazy thing to have. What a time to be alive. It's kind of hard to wrap my mind around it, even though I grew up here and I grew up around technology. Here we are, 2025, and I still can't believe it, man. So
Yeah,
with
well,
all
it's
that technology,
yeah.
the
I was
Wild
gonna
West,
say,
right?
yeah. There's I mean, even the homeless have cell phones. There's in my neighborhood, we have and I live in a little HOA, and we have jacks on the outside where you can plug things in for a barbecue or whatever. And homeless people overnight will charge their phones. I don't know how they're getting phones and how they're able to maintain their accounts, but they have cell phones. It's kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
the Obama phones.
yeah, it's a weird dystopia. I mean, it's like in Eastern Europe. There are parts of Eastern Europe and other parts of the world where people don't have running water and much electricity, but they do have cell phones, and they're watching stuff on their cell phones.
Man, I really enjoyed talking to you because I'm having all these realizations and affirmations in my head. You're lighting a lot of light bulbs with what you're saying, Joe. And I got to say it. You're absolutely right. They have cell phones, which is an essential tool to survive. You know, it used to be hunting and gathering, shelter. I think clothing came along eventually. What else? Do we calculate human acceptance? Is it important for the monkey to be valued by all the other monkeys? Who knows? But what
Well,
I
yeah,
do
unless
know,
you want all the other monkeys to kill the one monkey, yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
eat
I'm
him.
learning about that now. Actually, I'm starting to get around to that point now. But oh man, life is awesome. So yeah, all of that culture and sharing of ideas led to a technology boom, and what you had was these sprawling California suburbs based around these metropolitan cities, which were either based upon the gold rush, or the trades that are going through the ports, or the navy bases, for lack of a better understanding, right? And what happened was, as it went from folks going down to the furniture store and buying a desk or a love seat for their home, for their spouse, to ordering it on Amazon or DoorDash
Yeah,
or
especially
Uber Eats.
during COVID, it
Yeah.
became all people did.
Oh, it's dude. Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so true. So COVID kind of took that and ramped it up by a million, man. You're absolutely right. There goes my breakfast.
Oh
That
no.
San Francisco wind. Let me just pick that up. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay,
I'll tell
no
you two
worries,
seconds.
no worries. I can pause it. Oh, I can't hear you.
How about now?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
no,
Perfect.
this San Francisco wind is something to contend with on a daily basis.
No
Yeah,
doubt. That's one thing. I don't know how you guys, I used to go up. I have family up in San Francisco, and I used to go up there in the wintertime always to visit them, and I couldn't take the cold. It was too much with the fog when it rolls in and the cold, but I guess it depends, you get used to it like anything else.
yeah. Um, After living in the Eskimo village on the Arctic Ocean, I kind of like the cold. It's like when people feel the sunlight for the first time. There's nothing I love more than feeling that breeze. A nice, cold, brisk, refreshing breeze always puts a pep in my step. But back to what you were saying, because I got something really important to say about that. You really lit a light bulb in my brain.
Mm.
And feel free to edit any of this, trim whatever you got to, put in, put out. I'll be a vessel for your art.
No worries. I like to just let it go free. I'll pause it if you have to, if your food blows away or whatever.
You might
But
pause
other
it
than
if
that,
someone dies, but that's about it.
yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Okay, so no, you never know. It's the Wild West out here.
True,
If you haven't
true.
noticed throughout the show, I've been periodically checking over my shoulder, and I'm at the Apple Store. I should be safe, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay,
Fingers
so
crossed.
with all that cultural, with all the culture and the sharing of ideas, and the leading, with all that culture and the sharing of ideas and the technology boom that followed, um, in all these suburbs, sprawling California suburbs based around these metropolitan cities, it kind of started to shift. There was an overall shift in morale. There was an overall shift in our local, state, and federal systems. Suddenly, things are becoming digital instead of paperwork for this and that. Everything's got a computer file now. The way we communicate. It used to be you communicate your self communication, your local communication, and your world communication. It was like when I was in the Boy Scouts and you're getting your communication merit badges. There was like different realms of communication, and now it's all just one big uh, up in the sky, up in the air, kind of like Nikolai Tesla. And
Yeah.
yeah, when we started when we started seeing people order food online and going to Amazon to get their furniture, or dating through dating apps instead of going out to the bar to meet somebody, then we started to really see our society shift faster and faster, actually, and until eventually, because the technology did not stop evolving. And I talk about this a little in my book. We evolved so fast technologically that we could not adapt as humans to the technology. And by the time, there was that little period, 2000 to 2014, 15, 16, where the technology evolved slow enough for us to kind of adapt somewhat to where, hey, we don't really need to question too much where our society is going. But now, I mean, the technology is almost changing by the day with artificial intelligence and this and that. And well, I don't want to get too into conspiracy theories, but I have a feeling that the conspiracy theory around 15-minute cities and the orchestrated collapse that are implemented to ensure those 15-minute cities happen might be
Yeah,
intentional.
I don't know that
It,
that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's been proven pretty much because
yeah,
there are
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
I'm seeing all the evidence proving it's true right here in
yeah.
San Francisco. I mean, they used to call us crazy, like, hey, they want your community to collapse. They want to come in and buy everything up to do these 15-minute cities. No, you're lying, man. No, that's not gonna happen. They would never do that to us. Um, yeah, I think we're all familiar with the word gentrification, and it is not. It looks good on paper, doesn't it? It sure does sound good on paper, but gotta say, in real life and practice, it's almost the opposite. I
Well, yeah, it seems like retail is disappearing. I saw a post that you put up the other day of Trader Joe's, and you were talking about how
Yeah,
the
keep me
displays
focused,
were.
Joe. What's going
Yeah,
on? Tell me.
yeah.
You talk, I listen. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, I was just saying, basically it sounds like retail, especially in big cities like LA and San Francisco, they're putting everything behind glass. You have to ask the register guy, the cash register, to unlock a thing of deodorant if you want to buy
You
it.
got
It's
to wait
it's
a long
crazy.
time, but keep going. You got to wait a long
Yeah.
time for that. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, do you think there's even a future in retail? It seems like, I mean, I grew up in the days of the mall when young people would just spend the day in the mall, and
Yeah.
now it's like everything seems to be dying out. And where are we going from here, do you think? And are you
You want
optimistic?
the good news first or the bad news? No, I'm kidding.
Give it to me, give it all.
So I'll say this: there is still one last mall in the United States of America that's normal, where people still hang out and young folks go to meet and families go to shop. It's in Anchorage, Alaska. They have a mall downtown Anchorage. It's like a three-story mall. It's like a circle, and it feels like the 1980s in there, man. And I wasn't even alive in the 1980s. But if you want to experience a mall, if you're listening to this podcast right now and all the malls around you are closing down, go to Anchorage, Alaska. They got a really, really nice mall. And because it's the last frontier, there's no way it's gonna shut down. It's like the center of that town, dude. It's like a city based around a mall. Damn, that sounds really nice. Okay, so back to California, right? So everyone's hitchhiking to California in the 60s. That was great. But nowadays, everyone's coming to California for the cheapest fentanyl in the United States of America, the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is a form of chemical warfare on the American people. It comes from China across the southern border. Hey, sometimes the precursor chemicals come from India. My bad. They're like 1%. Sometimes comes from India. God. And by the way, we're only laughing because we can't cry anymore. We've
Yeah,
spent
I was gonna
too
say, have
many
have
nights
you
crying.
have you known any folks that have died from it, or have you seen any that at all?
Man, I've had so many family and friends die from fentanyl that I don't even want to think about it because I really have lost count. And it's really sad. Just, my cousin Scotty, for instance, growing up, he was a 90s kid. He liked to skateboard. He liked music. He liked to break dance. Everyone loved him. He was like the light. He was just your average 90s kid, that older brother who was good at everything he did. And, he wasn't into hardcore drugs. He wasn't a bad guy, wasn't a criminal or a thief, but he did like to, use a little pot here and there. Which, hey, God put that plant on earth, but he bought it off the streets instead of going to a club. And one of the fentanyl dealers had put fentanyl inside the pot. And can I say the W word or should I say the
Sure.
M word?
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
say
so
whatever.
they're putting fentanyl in the weed now, and my cousin unfortunately didn't make it, and they came and picked his body up off Church Street. And I have kind of been at war with the cartel ever since. But I mean, I've had plenty of friends die from fentanyl as well. A lot of my friends in college, they didn't make it. They thought they were taking a party pill. They thought they were doing ecstasy, or they thought they were doing an Adderall or a Xanax, and it's almost impossible to tell the difference between an actual pill and a prescription. It's almost impossible to tell the difference between an actual prescription pill and a faked press pill from the streets. And it's like rolling the dice. It's more dangerous than Russian roulette. I mean, the odds are that horrible, man. And the the older I get, the more I see fake drugs. The more fentanyl I see in the drugs. It's like it's getting worse, man. It's like there's almost no real the 1980s booger sugar, right? The powdery stuff from
Right, which, I
Colombia.
mean, if you have
There's
too
not
much
even
of it, it'll
real
kill
stuff.
you, but one
Yeah.
line's not going to kill you. Yeah, it's
And so nowadays they don't even have that stuff anymore. They're putting fentanyl in that stuff, and it's guaranteed to be in it now. It's guaranteed.
I
It's
hear
it's
that there are kits that people buy that you can test it, but I don't know how many
Yeah,
people are getting those. You
I'm
know.
not too sure how conducive the science is with those people, but I will say that. Uh, and by the way, this is some. We're about to get into some heavy topics. I want the audience to understand there is a great part of me subconsciously trying to distract myself from talking about these topics. It's
Mhm.
like a self defense mechanism where I try to avoid talking about it, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. I'm gonna do my best, and I know Joe's gonna keep me in line and keep me focused, and we're gonna get through this together. I'm not alone. Uh, Man, they're putting fentanyl in everything, right? And it's cheaper than a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, a gallon of gasoline. Fentanyl is, I mean, pounds and pounds are flooding across, and it just, and we're gonna get into the economy side of things. We're gonna get into the crime, the chaos, and the lawlessness, the corrupt Democrat leaders, the corrupt
Yeah.
nonprofits benefiting from the suffering of the less fortunate on the streets. I like to kind of when I talk about a subject, and I think you do too, Joe. Where that's how guys like us are. We like to start with the family. I think the center of all of our universes, or should be, or if you're a human being that loves your mom and dad, it should be the family. And then you start talking about local government, then state, then federal, then what's going on in the world. So you got your pyramid, upside down pyramid groups, right? So let's understand, and you're probably more aware of this than me, just what's going on right now with the youth, with the parents out there, moms and dads, guardians, grandmas and grandpas. um, this fentanyl chemical warfare is unlike anything our country has ever dealt with before in its history. I'm telling you, in the 80s and the 90s, in the early 2000s, hell, even in the teens, the 2010s, right? Uh, Parents, all they had to worry about were their kids maybe drinking alcohol or trying pot. That was about the extent of it. Sure, some kids went off the deep end and got into some other harder stuff, but they weren't dying immediately. They weren't overdosing like that. Uh, and the game has changed completely. I mean, parents, the guardians today, the grandmas and grandpas, uncles and aunts, the kids are facing a chemical warfare unlike anything our country has ever seen before. You know, right? It's absolutely crazy, Joe, because I'm literally telling parents, hey, it's not like the 2000s or the 90s anymore where you have to talk with your kid and hope they make the best decision moving forward. It's to the point where there's so much fentanyl in our community where I'm letting the parents know, hey, if little Johnny or little Susie's a stoner, mom, dad, you guys need to have that talk and consider going to the dispensary yourself as a parent and acquiring that cannabis yourself so that you know 1,000% there's no fentanyl in that. If you know your kid's a little stoner, you it's not like the 90s or the 2000s where you can kind of iron curtain them and ground them and punish them and this or that. I'm telling you, they're putting fentanyl in vapes now. I was on the bus, and I wish I could have got off the bus. These high school kids got off the bus, and the whole time they're talking about getting a fentanyl vaporizer. They call them fent vapes.
Mm.
And these fentanyl vapes are being sold illegally by a lot of these corner stores, these smoke shops. Um, and I mean, just the amount of fentanyl in our country right now has totally disrupted our family, our understanding of family, our family structure, our local economy, our society, the fabric of our society. I mean, fentanyl, it's like a cancer in every way possible, man. And so
Do you
back in
think
the
that do you think
yeah,
that
you
closing
talk. My
the
bad.
sorry, no worries. I
This
love it.
shit is crazy, Joe. This shit is
Yeah.
crazy.
Do you think that closing the borders is going to help?
So I would like to people to understand that fentanyl is showing up on so you're wondering if the closing the border is going to help. I love that question. That's one of my favorite questions. I look at it like this. Uh, Not last December, the December before that, December of 22. a 2-year-old child named Jasper. I'm pretty sure his name's Jasper. Don't shoot me if his name's not Jasper. But it was a little boy who's an angel, who's innocent, who didn't do anything to anybody. Is an American child, right? An American, born in the USA. This baby is on an American playground, and you know how kids are. They see something shiny, and it intrigues them. They pick it up, they put it in their mouth. I got a baby nephew. This kid's bouncing off the walls. He's touching everything in sight. It doesn't matter what color, texture. He's exploring the world around him. And Jasper was a 2-year-old child playing on a San Francisco playground, and he saw something shiny, and it ended up being fentanyl. And he put it in his mouth, and long story short, the child overdosed. But fortunately, the ambulance got there in time, and they were able to bring the kid back to life. And it should have never happened, Joe. That fentanyl should have never been on that playground. And so when people ask me, and I've been asked this thousands of times in the last couple of years, because I mean, it's such a political day and age. I mean, if you aren't getting political, you're almost uh,
You must be living in a cave or something. Yeah.
complicit. You're either living in a cave as a hermit, or you're complicit in your own your societal decay, right? So I think we're both rocking the blue microphones, man. What a great brand, man. Hey, shout out to Blue. Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me about this one all the time because a buddy of mine calls it the Death Star because it looks like
It is. It's the opposite of the Death Star to me, though. It's like the Life Star. It's the
Nice.
Life Star, man. So, yeah, fentanyl is showing up on the playgrounds.
Yeah.
Children are overdosing. Totally
Mhm.
unacceptable. Now fentanyl is showing up in schools. Fentanyl vaporizers. A few years back, it was well known. Oh, all the teenagers, they're not doing cigarettes or weed or alcohol. They're all vaporizing nicotine. Well, now they're going to be vaporizing fentanyl, and a lot of them already are. It's freaking horrible, man.
So do you think that it's already too saturated that even closing the borders is not going to help or do anything?
I think closing the border is an essential part of shutting down the flow and slowing down the program that is fentanyl. We have to, I mean, we have to raise awareness about fentanyl, which is why probably I'm on this podcast right now. It's why I'm always sharing videos online. Part of the reason why I'm writing this book. A lot of my family and friends have died from fentanyl. Fentanyl showing up on playgrounds and in schools. I believe wholeheartedly, with all of my heart, closing down that southern border, closing down that goddamn southern border is going to slow down the program when it comes to fentanyl. Um, and and I'm not here to say, oh, it's only the cartel, it's only the communist government that's pushing fentanyl. There's been a few white police officers who have been caught up in this horrible drug trade. There's been trust people who like parents. It's like this fentanyl has corrupted almost everything and everyone. And I'm letting you know right now, when you go to San Francisco and you see that there's no bathrooms and there's no tables and there's no chairs, it's not because of the pandemic, and it's certainly not because of Republicans. It's because of fentanyl and the Democrat policies that enabled the chaos of lawlessness. What else needs to happen? I think President Trump is dealing a firm hand to China. I think he's adamant about stopping the flow of fentanyl. However, the amount of precursor chemicals required to manufacture fentanyl, I believe there's just been so many precursors because they get them for dirt cheap from China. It's like
And
a
it takes
dollar
very
a
little,
gallon.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
a little goes a long
exactly.
way.
They need like the minuscule amount of chemicals to make a gallon worth of fentanyl, and that minuscule amount for a gallon worth of minuscule amount is like $1. So there's enough fentanyl to destroy our entire country and everyone living in it, and then there's also enough fentanyl to maintain that supply for years to come. So the valve that is shutting off the fentanyl flow, it's not a said and done sort of thing. It's if you remember back to the early 2000s and the 90s when they would accidentally leave on their hose and then the whole front yard's flooded, and
Right. I
it's
was
like,
going to say, it's like the toothpaste is out of the tube, right? Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you there, brother?
I am. You froze
Say
up
it one
for
more
a
time. You
second there.
bugged out.
Yeah, I said it's the toothpaste is out of the tube pretty much. It's like it's hard to bring it back, and
Yeah.
basically hopefully a lot of it is like in storage somewhere. I used to live. I still live in Southern California, but I used to live in a town called Rancho Santa Margarita in Orange County, and they
Every time I hear the word rancho, I get flashbacks to the pot cartels. I mean, I used to work on these crazy farms up north in Humboldt. I escaped a few cartel farms, to say the least. But keep going to
Ooh.
whatever rancho you were talking
Oh
about.
yeah. Well, the town I lived in was actually a very safe town, but the biggest bust they had was ecstasy. This one guy had the biggest cache of ecstasy they had ever caught, and it was all just stored
Jesus.
in his garage. So maybe there's a lot of fentanyl that they'll be able to catch and pull off the market before it gets
Definitely,
out.
man. There's got to be yeah, I would say 1,000%. And before we get any more into the negativity, I gotta say some positive stuff about Southern California, dude. Uh, I noticed like in outside of LA and near San Diego, there's a heavy military presence. There's a lot of guys and gals who served in the Army and the Navy, and they are living in these communities. And criminals, the bad guys, right? They are thinking twice before they're doing something. And I really admire that about the Southern California communities you guys have down there. There's a lot of great cities down there, a lot of great people living there. Um, Man, oh man, oh man, fentanyl. How do we stop it completely? Well, let's. Hey, Joe, I like you better than Joe Biden. That's for damn sure. And I
I
gotta say,
appreciate that.
Joe Biden's son. He was. We
Mm,
all saw him utilizing crack, right? I'm
yeah.
wondering, is it possible he may be involved in fentanyl? Who knows just how deep the fentanyl iceberg goes? But
Yeah. I don't know. I never put anything past the upper echelon because they're all kind of dirty and there's all kinds of stuff that comes out. I mean, we still haven't gotten Epstein's list, so we don't know, you
and
know,
people always say, "Hey, Darren, they put crack in the hood in the '80s. The CIA put crack in the
right.
ghetto in the
Yeah.
'80s." I think that's true, but and it might not be an I think that's true. It's a we know that's true sort of thing. But I don't believe the CIA would intentionally put fentanyl in our communities. I just it's too deadly. It's too anti civilization. It's and
Yeah.
maybe they thought, or if they did, maybe it was, oh, this seems like a way we could expedite all the homelessness, right? Who knows what could have been the
Or
reason
just
as to why.
trying to get rid of some of the population, just like a lot of people were saying about COVID, that, COVID basically, it turns out, came from a lab. And,
Why do
you
they
know,
want us dead, Joe? And it's mostly our
yeah.
grandmas and grandpas. They want our elders, the ones that won't let
Yes.
shit happen, the ones that know everything, man. God,
Mm,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
today's biggest lesson in this show, this podcast, is spend time with grandma and grandpa and learn as much as you can from them, man. Seriously.
Absolutely. So are you,
Before we get into the
yeah.
because you and I are about to talk about some really dark stuff,
Uh,
really quick, what would your grandma and grandpa say about what's happening in California right now? And by the
well,
way, I'm sure they were awesome. I would have loved to met them.
yeah. Well, I mean, my grandparents would probably shake their heads. My grandfather was a musician, and so he was a partier, and he did a lot of stuff that young people do now. He had all the downfalls that most musicians have, but at the same time,
Grandpa would not approve of people using fentanyl or heroin at the children's playground. I'm pretty sure.
no, exactly, exactly. None of my grandparents would have approved of that, and it was. Yeah, I mean, they all passed away before this came about, and I guess maybe I should be thankful for that, because they didn't have to see all
Yeah,
this.
maybe Bill Gates did us a favor by putting our grandparents out of their misery before they had to witness the decline of Western civilization. Man, I just remember my grandma in her last years just shaking her head. Man, it was sad. And then when I lost all four of my grandparents, your grandparents sound like awesome human beings. He was a musician. My dad's a musician.
Oh,
My
nice.
dad has two ex-wives and six kids. I'm the middle child.
Sounds like he enjoyed life quite a bit.
Well, let's just say he worked a lot. Let's just say he was always at work, man. My dad, when he would, let's just say he would wake up at 3 a.m. He'd go to work. He'd work all day to 3 p.m. He'd get home. He'd slam a bottle of Jack and he'd play his guitar till about 1 or 2 a.m. and then go to work again the next day.
That
And
sounds about right. Yeah.
pretty
Wow.
cool dad, actually. Oh my god, man! But my grandma and grandpa, man. My uncle started Mel's Diner, which is a famous restaurant in California.
Yes.
My grandma had a Victorian next to Golden Gate Park. My grandpa was a cowboy. He grew up baling hay at the age of 8. I mean, his hands were bigger than my head, man. I'm telling you, my grandpa could knock some people out, dude. It was dude, one time my grandpa, there was this crazy guy. He was getting rude and disrespectful in a restaurant. My grandpa grabbed his beard and punched it off of his face, dude.
Oh
Like,
my
I
God.
mean, like I'm telling you, he was the old school kind of guy. He would not put up with a lot of the things happening in San Francisco, man. I'm telling you, it's a blessing that our grandparents are in heaven because if they were here on earth, it, I could not even fathom the amount of shame I would have. Just ah, God, we have, and that's why it's so important to get up and stand up and fight for our rights, right? That's why it's
Yeah.
important to be passionate. You got to do it not just for grandma and grandpa, but you got to do it for your grandkids. You got to do it for the next 7 generations. And like I said earlier, we're at a really pivotal moment right now. For the first
Mm,
time in history, humans have the collective knowledge of humanity in the palms of their hands, the tips of their finger, and
mm.
either we can use this technology to liberate ourselves once and for all, or our oppressors will use the same technology to oppress us once and for all. And
Yeah.
we're at a really interesting kind of pendulum swinging sort of moment where we have we have sorry about that.
No
I
worries. No worries.
don't know if I inhaled a fly or choked on my spit, but I do know that we have all this technology and all these billionaires, and then we have
Mhm,
all this fentanyl and all this homelessness, and it's
mhm.
all kind of like a yin
Yeah.
and yang here in San Francisco. It's like, where do we even begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? I guess it all started to go downhill when they stopped teaching kids algebra in school. I think that's when it really started to go downhill, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
I'm
just
are
remember
you optimistic about the future of California? Do you think that it might turn around, and maybe go, because California was always kind of, I mean, it's been this powerhouse with so much opportunity, but nowadays a college degree doesn't even necessarily guarantee a job, and there aren't enough jobs for the kids getting out of school. So
man,
what are they going to do?
I was just talking about this with some college kids. I was just in college too. I just dropped out because I'm not really big on the laptop. I prefer to learn in person, in a
Uh-huh.
classroom environment. I was just talking about it with some kids from Washington State, 22 years old. This chick, she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to college." I don't even remember what she said she was going to college for, but I do remember that I told her it doesn't matter because she's not even guaranteed a job. And even if she does get the job in her career or her field, it's not a guaranteed source of income.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of people are not even, I mean, with
gosh, there
degrees.
is a lot going on, huh, Joe?
Yeah,
It's like it's
yeah,
really hard to kind of come in and talk about it all in one linear line. It's like we got to go up and down, left and right, just to try and
right.
paint a picture. That's how obscure that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think they're doing it on purpose, man. They have so many psyops, right? It's like
Mhm.
they have psyops to distract us from other psyops. And what's a psyop, Darren? Jesus. What's not a psyop actually is the question.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay,
it's, I
okay.
mean,
Let's just dive in. Let's go to the straight to the ocean floor. I want to let folks know I do not have a submarine. I'm in one of those 1800 suits where you have the diver with the glass rigged cage. That's me. Not a submarine. Uh, just a deep sea diver. Lone wolf. One man army. I've been called a lot of things. Some folks are calling me the Batman of San Francisco. Uh, I'm trying
Yeah,
my
how's
best
that
to
been going? By
get
the way,
my.
you've been apprehending a lot of people and basically
I'm
putting
getting
yourself in danger while you do it, though.
I'm getting a real appetite for stopping these thieves, Joe. It's like becoming an insatiable thing, Joe. I'm like waking up in the morning and instead of breakfast and coffee, I want to instill the fear of God into these thieves.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Have the cops given you a hard time about it at all, or have they talked to you about it, or what are their thoughts?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So all of the police here in San Francisco are 7 mile by 7 mile peninsula. They are familiar with my work. They are aware of the world peace movement. They are familiar with the vigilante known as Darren Stallcup. Uh, and I mean, let me just start from the beginning and then kind of just get into where I'm at right now with things because I used to be a really normal guy. I swear, my PTSD wasn't this bad. Man, these guys really did a number on me, and now I'm doing a number on them. That's just the way it is. Mother Nature, she always finds a way. So yeah, growing up, San Francisco Bay Area, cultural capital turned technology capital to what became the ground zero for homelessness and fentanyl. Is it because they want to implement a collapse to construct 15-minute cities? Very likely, very likely. Do people like Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton have plans for the future of society still, even though they haven't been presidents for fucking 20 years? Yes, they are still in the game. Is Obama still pulling strings? Certainly. Are you guys familiar with Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris? Guess what? Both of those people were produced by San Francisco. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently broadcasting to you live via the power of the world, via the power of the internet around the world from
Yeah.
beautiful San Francisco. And I'm here in the far left Lions Den, and Joe's given the greatest interview that I've ever been a part of, man. I mean, it's an
Well,
honor to be
I
here.
appreciate it. It sounds like, I mean, it sounds like you've been through a lot, and I hope I I
Are
hope
you
that
ready? Are you ready to hear about all the horrible things I've witnessed and endured?
sure. Yeah, cut loose if you want to. You feel free.
Oh, oh gosh. Kids, cover your ears. Parent discretion is advised. Long story short, it was 2015. I'm walking around just fresh out of high school, 18 years old. My house hadn't burned down yet. And San Francisco is the technology capital of the world. There were so many people on the streets walking around, people in their earpieces. No matter which coffee shop you went to, there's someone talking about a startup or some kind of development in technology. And it still might be, and it still sort of feels like that deep, deep down. Kind of like the center of the universe. It's like wherever San Francisco goes, Silicon Valley follows. Oakland follows, wherever the Bay Area goes, Hollywood follows, wherever the Bay Area and
Yeah,
Hollywood
I mean, Silicon
follow,
Valley took over
California,
Hollywood. Yeah.
and
So,
wherever California goes, the world follows, or no, America follows, then the world follows America. But yeah, so it's really interesting to be at the forefront of everything futuristic while at the same time somehow some way being brought 10,000 years backwards into the dark ages, man. I mean, there are times I feel like Phil of the future, and there are times I feel like Grognak the barbarian, like a caveman, like honestly.
yeah.
I Let's get into it. And this is really hard to talk about, so I appreciate your guys' patience. Like I said, my mind is doing everything subconsciously to try and get me to not talk about this stuff. So you guys got to really bear with me. This is some really heavy stuff. So I started noticing a major shift. Just before the pandemic, everyone kind of got the hell out of Dodge. It was like a lot of technology companies were leaving. I think right before the pandemic, they started to really tax the techies. They really started to regulate everything, over-regulate, I guess. A little regulation's good, huh? And so the financial district and Market Street kind of slowly started to not become a ghost town and there's this woman in a complete business office dress attire, and she looks like the richest person in the world, but she literally, I'm looking at it, she literally just took a piss in the bushes right now. I mean,
Wow.
you never know. There's no bathroom, so
Welcome to San
I could have
Francisco.
swore
Yeah.
she could have swore she was a CEO. Looking at my first glance, I thought she was a CEO. Okay, so and yeah, my earliest memories of San Francisco. No, we'll get there in a second too. Um, so walking around, they started taxing the techies. Then there were less techies. Then a lot of the tech companies started to leave. And then San Francisco kind of went back to its regular cultural capital stage, not so much technology capital stage, but cultural capital stage. And there's still a few people walking around. And we still had, Uber. And this was really early state of AI, too. Nobody was talking about AI because it was very hush hush, like, oh, do not tell anyone about AI sort of thing. And wow, we're gonna have to talk about AI later on in the episode today. It's kind of insane when you think about
Yeah.
it,
Well,
because
yeah, that's kind of where I was going
is
to with
AI a quantum computer, or is a quantum computer AI? We'll figure it out here in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. But first, let's talk about the decline of Western civilization.
Yeah.
So then the pandemic hits, right? I remember it just like it was yesterday, Joe. I think our story's going to start to get a little more coherent here. I was working at the Trader Joe's on 4th and Market Street. Where was I working before that? Whole Foods. Where was I working before that? I was an undertaker in a graveyard in Alaska. So I mean, I've had many different odd jobs. I've worked on farms, digging up dirt. I've worked in graveyards, grocery stores. I'm a car salesman now. Just left Subaru, about to start at Mercedes. Um, if I don't know, I might just release my book and retire at the same time, Joe. But stop getting off topic, Darren. You gotta focus. You gotta talk about what you were talking about, huh? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's really dark stuff. Really. Okay, so it's the human being is a fascinating thing, right? We have all these subliminal safety mechanisms to not relive certain trauma that we've already spent years kind of like
Yeah.
purposely tuning out and
Yeah.
trying to forget about. Here we go. So the year is 2020. And for folks who are aware, the pandemic hit heavy late February, early March. January, everything was still normal, right? Right? So here we
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
I was working at Trader Joe's on 4th and Market, downtown San Francisco. Every day, hundreds of people. I was a stock boy, but sometimes when the cashiers were overwhelmed, I'd take over as a cashier. I'd open, I'd close. Maybe I'd do a little security here and there, chasing out the thieves. Back in the day, there was a few homeless guys, right? They were starving. All they wanted was a sandwich. They'd go and they'd take a sandwich. And we'll talk about that here in a second, because it's changed a lot since then. It's no longer just that one starving guy who wants a sandwich. They're going in and taking the whole shelf now in duffel bags. So we'll get to that in a second. So I'm working at the grocery store. It's the Trader Joe's on 4th and Market Street. I'm working as a cashier, even though I'm the stock boy. And one of my coworkers, he's the only guy from Japan that works there. But I love Japan, so I'm like trying to be his best friend. And I noticed, and everyone else does not have a mask on. This is the only guy with a mask on. This is like January 2nd, man. I'm telling you, they didn't give us a day off past New Year's, man.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, like, I'm there as a cashier, beep, beep. And I'm really good at talking to people. Everybody loves me, but I can't help but notice the guy in front of me or behind me, the guy from Japan, he's wearing a mask, and I know he's just as smart as me. What's he doing wearing a mask, And I was like, hey, man, I pulled him to the side, right? This is like in between shifts, not during the workplace hours. What are you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask around me? I guess that's what I was really getting at. I was like, why are you wearing a mask? Are you like are you into like certain kind of gothic music or anime, or is this an anime? Like, because back then people wore masks if you came from China and you were tired of the pollution, or you were into like these comic book costume cosplay sort of conventions. Like they wear these like regular masks. Just it was like it certainly wasn't going to help you find a girlfriend. So I was like, hey man,
Yeah.
why are you wearing a mask?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't tell anybody or don't freak out or no. What did you say? He said you're not going to believe me or you're not going to take it seriously, but there's a lot of people who are sick right now in China because of some kind of flu. And there's a lot of people that travel from, and he's from Japan, mind you. There's a lot of people that travel from China to San Francisco specifically. Out of all the places in the USA, they come to San Francisco first and foremost, right? We have the oldest Chinatown in the United States of America.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you're telling me there's a disease outbreak in China and we're in San Francisco in the United States of America and you're wearing a mask. And hey, we're working in downtown San Francisco. For those of you who don't are unaware, uh, in New York City, they have, is it Ellis Island where people come through to enter the United States or something like that?
Used to be, yeah. I think I don't think
Like
they
a New
go
York
through there
City
anymore, but
terminal
yeah.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have like an office now in downtown New York City, probably. But yeah, used to go through the island back when we used to do things properly. So, but for the West Coast, people coming from Asia into the United States of America, they got to go through San Francisco's Angel Island, Treasure Island. They have to. So that's our version of New York City's Ellis Island. And so my grocery store, I'm not being racist when I say this, predominantly Asians shopping there. And a lot of them actually just getting off the plane, coming into San Francisco and getting some groceries. And I love that. I love Asia. I don't, Japan, Korea, China, Taiwan, Philippines, they're all great. I love them all. God bless all of our Asian Americans listening. Um, Big yellow heart, right? But man, so this guy's wearing a mask because he thinks there's a flu coming from China. And I'm like, I was a germaphobe before the pandemic, mind you. Remember, I was camping in the skeleton structure of the Moscow Center, and
Right.
I was using baby wipes left and right. I never use a public toilet seat. I don't touch door handles. I'll use a napkin to open a door handle. I'll open a door with my foot, brother. You'll see me do a crane sort of move. I'll open the door with my foot. Or I don't know.
Do you
but I
take
don't touch
public
door handles.
transportation? Do you take the BART?
Yeah, but I stand. But I stand the whole time because I feel like if I sit down on any of those seats, I'm gonna get AIDS. I don't. I know that
I take
sounds
the
horrible.
subway in downtown LA, and I never sit down. I just stand. It's only a few stops, but I'm with you. And
Yeah.
often there'll be like a homeless guy that'll push his way onto the subway at the last minute, and I'm
And
usually right by the
there's
door.
blood, there's urine, there's
Oh yeah.
feces on the bus and on the train, and even if it's not a distinct pile, someone could have walked over it or sat on it somewhere else, and those germs transfer really easy onto those seats. And honestly, they might even clean them once a day. It's still not enough for me. I need them cleaned 3 times a day, honestly. Or if not, every time the train reaches the end of the line, how it should be. But it doesn't. It shouldn't have to be that way, Joe. But that's the way it's got to be because it's like there's no respect for our community anymore. There's no respect for elders. We're gonna get to that in just a second, and I also hear people screaming, so I might take off for 5 minutes or 2 minutes to kick some ass here, but I'll run back to the podcast. We're
No
good, I
worries.
think we're good. There's a
Good.
lot of fuck. What was I
Volatility.
talking about? What was I
Um.
talking about?
Oh, you're talking about the
Can you
COVID
hear the
and,
people
the
screaming?
mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, buddy, why are you wearing a mask? It's hard for these chicks to see your smile behind that mask, brother. And long story short, he's like, yeah, there's this really bad disease coming from China, and it's not like the regular diseases you guys are always talking about. It's not a regular cold. This one's really, really bad. I was like, damn, that sounds. I don't think he'd ever lie to me. I don't remember what his name was, but this was not a guy that ever wasted any oxygen. He was from Japan. He was very serious. something in my heart, something in my stomach. I don't know if it was God or Jesus, but it was like, yo, Darren, that guy is absolutely right. I don't know what he's talking about, but you better put on a mask. And the whole pandemic, I was anti-mask. But before the pandemic, like the first few weeks before the pandemic, I was team
Mm,
mask. I don't know
mm,
why. It
yeah.
just it felt intelligent. Because man. So listen to this. Me and him are the only ones wearing a mask, and one by one, this was like February 1st came around, and one by one, our coworkers started calling out sick, man, and it was like the people who weren't wearing a mask, and and then it really hit me when they had to close down the store for a few days or something like that, and then while at the same time I got laid off, uh, and hey, I still go to that grocery store. I was just there 2 nights. Yeah, see, there's a fucking lunatic walking by right now. I
Mhm.
don't know. They look like they're just passing through. We're gonna leave them alone, but some of these guys are on a warpath, and I'm like a dog, Joe. And if I catch wind that anybody is up to no good, I like to chase them down and I like to get on them. And
Mhm.
that's what I've been on for the last few months or so. But back to the pandemic. So yeah, all my coworkers are getting horribly sick. I don't know what's going on. They shut down the grocery store for like a couple days. My I get laid off, but I still go shopping there. Still love all my old coworkers. And long story short, man, before I could even process that, my grandfather, Donald Wayne Stallcup, the cowboy who I was talking about, who has hands bigger than my head, who was baling hay at the age of 8. Um, Sorry, I'm putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. This
No
is
worries.
more important to me. I'm busy. I'm talking to Joe right now, dude. So,
Your grandfather passed away.
yeah, yeah. So they freaking, so they were like, oh, yeah, grandpa's got COVID 19. Oh, no, no, no. So then they were like, oh, there's this COVID 19. Da 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 da. And next thing you know, all the stores are like closing down, and you got to go to the front entrance and do like a bag exchange or something like. I mean, there were so many different ways around it that they were trying to put forward, and they had all these like outdoor dining. And honestly, we don't need to relive that either. I don't think our audience understands just how much that sucked, the pandemic, and we really shouldn't talk about it too much because it's a buzzkill. It really is. I cannot believe what they put us through.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that was well. Gavin Newsom was out eating at the French
Yeah.
Laundry, you know.
Yeah, right here in San Francisco, right?
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
so listen, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, of course, you had those states like Florida and Alaska and Oklahoma where they were a little more pro freedom, but then here in San Francisco, they were like super Obama. Like all the stores got shut down. You had to go to the front entrance. You had to wear a mask. You had to social distance. There was people who were really freaking out if you were not like even 10 feet away. They would like freak out if you got in someone's butt. It was really push to shove. And then one day, my grandpa got sick, and they're like, go to the hospital. And I remember I was begging my dad and my grandma, don't take grandpa to the hospital. Don't trust the hospitals. And this was before I didn't trust big pharma before all of that. You know what I mean? Like, and who,
Mhm.
people do need medicine, so there is some side of pharma that is necessary for humanity, but definitely it needs a balancing because it's gone way overboard the last few years,
Yeah, well, it became
especially
all
with
about
children.
profits and opioids. The whole opioid epidemic was
Exactly,
because of that.
man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they take grandpa to the hospital, and then the hospital's like, you can't go in and visit grandpa. He's got to be by himself. Only a nurse can go in there, even though he's on his deathbed. And then my best friend Tyler, he wrapped his car around the tree because he liked to race. He died doing what he loved. God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. I miss him every day. But so he liked to race his car. He raced. My best friend wrapped his car around the tree February 22nd. So by February 25th, they had pretty much all of California shut down, And Gavin Newsom, like you pointed out, was very adamant about social distancing and preventive measures, or whatever abomination description they gave, whatever label they put on it, right? And here he is eating at the French Laundry without a mask. Gosh, man, the hypocrisy. I might have done the same, honestly, if I was
Yeah.
governor and I had to tell everyone to put on their mask. If I was governor, I'd probably abuse my power to not put on a mask. Just saying, but I would have not ate out in public like that. I would have ate without a mask in my own home or something.
And he
Like,
wasn't the only one. The mayor of LA did it down here
yeah.
at sports events. If
It's when you go down in public. It's like, hey, I'm going to eat somewhere where you can eat, but you have to wear a mask when you eat here. That's when it really became
yeah.
that's when
And
it
also, it
crossed
just
the line.
showed the elites because I mean, I don't know if you've seen the price list at the French Laundry, but it's insane. It's one of the most expensive restaurants I think in the country.
I'll let you. I'll have you know. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends here in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, and they have millions of dollars. And I don't
Uh-huh.
ever ask them for a damn thing, but I've gone out to eat with them, and a lot of the restaurants in San Francisco, the food is like world class, Michelin-esque. Like
Yes.
I'm telling you, we have some of the best food on earth. It's worth dying for just to get a taste, but it can get pretty expensive. So yeah, when you got the French Laundry, I have not ate there yet. And if I were to eat there, I'd have to call up my tech buddies to foot the bill because it's a little out of my budget. Yeah, the French Laundry, that they got wine at the French Laundry that's older than the United States of America. So yeah, Gavin Newsom, worst governor in the history of California. We'll get to that here in a second too. Man, gosh, I can't stand him. We call him uh, Gavin Gruesome Nuisance Newscomb.
Yes.
So
He
yeah,
wants to be president.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't think 20. I don't know. Dude, recently we got to talk about that here in a second too. He's been changing his tune. I don't know if he's doing the chameleon thing or what have you. The wind shifted direction. He's changing the sails around, but
Yeah.
he's singing a different song now. And I'm gonna let him keep singing that song because that's what I like to hear. But man, I know for damn sure he was not. That was not the tune he was playing the other day. That's for sure. Definitely not during the pandemic. So, like you said, he was pushing the most extreme, strictest measures in the United States of America. He was taking the pandemic as far as anybody could take it. I mean, New York. You can't think of another Washington D.C. There's not another place in the United States of America that was more strict during the pandemic than California, with of course the few exceptions in Northern California. There are a few small mountain towns who are self-regulatory, and the police takes them 2 hours to get there. So I'm sure
Yeah.
those guys weren't too worried about any.
And there were some sheriffs that refused to enforce the lockdowns because they weren't going to be
God bless
arresting
those
people on the
sheriffs.
street. Yeah.
Gosh, I hope they got a raise.
Yeah.
Man, those
Yeah.
are some real unsung heroes, huh? They really
Yeah.
are.
I mean, they didn't want to be filling up their jails with people that were just outside breaking because basically they knew it
They
didn't
saw
make any
law
sense.
abiding citizens, tax
Yeah.
paying law abiding citizens with no records, just honest families who
Yeah.
didn't feel like wearing a damn mask. I think those sheriffs did the right thing.
Absolutely.
And man, there are so many crazy, different, wacky things happening during the pandemic. One second. And
No worries.
it's kind of hard to remember all of that, but I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the few highlights.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
When those sheriffs were resisting, it was a light in the darkness. It was a beacon of hope. It was a lighthouse in a storm. And so here we are during a pandemic, right? And the last one was like the Spanish flu or pox or
yeah.
1920s, 40s, 50s
Right.
stuff that only grandma and grandpa know.
Hmm.
And
Before their time, really. It was 1918. Yeah.
yeah, right after World War One. Yeah.
Yeah. They say it usually happens in a cycle of 100 years, where you'll get some kind of plague that'll devastate the world. But this one, it sounds, well,
Came from a
basically,
lab in Wuhan, China.
exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't exactly nature taking its course. Yeah.
Which leads to be my next point. Sorry, I'm having a cigarette.
No worries.
Um, Tobacco, not a vape. So, besides the Wuhan lab in China, don't you remember one of the craziest stories out of all the pandemic was that one communist uh, bio lab they found in California? I forget which city.
Oh,
I
that's
got to
right.
Google it really
Yeah.
quick because the audience has to know what it was called. Biolab, Chinese biolab. It was a weird name. That's why no one could ever remember
Yeah.
it.
Was it?
It's
It
like
was
they
in Northern
purposely
California.
picked that city.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It
It's
was
bizarre.
near Silicon Valley, a little too close for comfort, if you ask me, Joe. But I'd rather it be near me than you, to say the least.
Oh, thank you.
Chinese Biolab,
Yeah.
California. Man, I love this podcast, man. This is a great podcast, Joe. You got a great show. This is a good program here. Okay, dude, this is some dark stuff to just Google. California Biolab. Why won't it say what city?
I
What
don't
city?
know. I can take a look too. Um, Let me see here. Uh,
While you're looking at the city they found it in, because
yeah.
I really want to make sure we get that noted, which city that happened at. Uh, yeah, they found a Chinese biolab in California, like mid-pandemic, and it was just like the cherry on top. Essentially, it was like, hey, just when you just when you couldn't get enough of those Chinese balloons flying over, check it out.
Yeah.
We got a Chinese biolab in your backyard.
Well, it
I'm
looks like
like,
there was one in Fresno.
oh
That
man,
got
that's where it
busted.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For those people who don't know, Fresno people go hard. They're kind of like they're like a mix between Boston guys and farmers, to say the
Yeah.
least. All my Fresno people are either running a farm or they're in jail. They're really passionate people.
Yeah. There are a lot of Basques up there, and a lot of Armenians too. I think in Fresno.
I love Armenia. Every Armenian I've ever met, every Armenian I've ever met has met every Armenian I've ever met. Sorry, bit of a tongue twister there. The English language. Um, they've been like super nice, friendly, intelligent, beautiful, wise. I used to have a counselor. He was either from Armenia or his family was, but this guy, man, he was a cool person to talk to, kind of like you, Joe. I did counseling for a few months. I was struggling with my mental health. When you're stressed out, when you have PTSD, we'll talk about some of those things that caused that trauma, right? Because it didn't just, we're all born out of our mom's wombs, and we all come into this earth without. We're like Jay-Z, 99 problems and a bitch ain't one. It's like that's how you come into this world, and over time, your experiences shape you into who you are. And unfortunately, my local and state leaders had other plans for my existence. And it just so, and so it was that I became a subject and a far left socialist communist experiment, societal experiment. I don't know what you want to call it, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're not alone, and I think a lot of people, especially the young people, I mean, you're of the age where you probably can't really remember a world without the internet. It's pretty much
At
been here your whole
27
life, right?
at 27 years old, the internet was there when I was a little baby, but I understood as a little baby that it was only for adults and it was for like their work or their business. It was like not for play. That was the vibe. That
Yeah.
was the vibe. And then my earliest memories in life, I think I was like 3 years old, 4 years old, and I remember walking into my parents' bedroom and they were watching 9/11 on TV, and I thought it was an action movie. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I was like, wow, mom and dad are watching an action movie pretty early in the morning right now. Go, mom and dad.
Yeah.
But they were
Yeah.
crying. I was like, wait, why are you crying, mom and dad?
Mhm.
So I've been, what a time to be alive. What a interesting time to be a young man. And yeah, I did see San Francisco go from being the cultural capital to the technology capital. And yeah, it does feel like I'm a subject in like a test experiment, like a socialist test experiment. And no more did I feel like that than during the pandemic, right? Because, like I said, even though Gavin Newsom is blatantly eating at the French Laundry, uh, by the
He's
way, my
making us stay
fiance
home.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
my fiance is from France. I love France.
Oh,
Nothing
nice.
against the French. No reservations against the French Laundry. I just don't have any reservations at the French Laundry. But when you tell everybody in your state to put on a mask or you're going to imprison them, and then you go out in public and you're eating without a mask, it's kind of like, hey, dude, um, what
Yeah.
year is it? Is it 1776 or my gosh,
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on? We have the most taxes in the country, and we have the least representation.
Yeah.
The amount of
Do you think the tide is turning on that? Do you think that maybe because of what's going on a federal level and on an international level, that maybe folks will vote another way in the upcoming elections, or are we just too deep? You know.
Well, I felt like that for a while actually, and I was looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, and I was hoping, wishing, and praying that maybe the wool would be removed from the youth's eyes, and I felt as though my generation was lost. And I remember I dropped out of college. I didn't like the laptop education program. All of my classmates were Googling their way through colleges. All of my classmates were chat GBTing their way through college, essentially cheating, Joe. And I
Yeah.
got a feeling all the people in your generation that went to college actually had to read a book and actually had to do the tests and they had to actually know what they were doing. And
Yeah.
so
Or at
when
the
I
very
see
least, they had to pay somebody.
they had to be so good at cheating that they had a general idea of what they were cheating about. Yeah.
True.
And
Exactly.
it was
Exactly.
there was no fooling and then now I feel like the future of our society is like on a very fine line. I mean, we are on the brink. When I see my entire generation is cheating their way through college, I don't want these guys as a doctor. I don't want these guys flying my airplane, even though a lot of this stuff's automated or uses robot or technology now. I don't and I think we're starting to see it. We see it everywhere we look. When you order Chipotle on DoorDash and Uber Eats, and you don't get guacamole, or when a plane is landing and something's wrong with the tires, or they have to turn around because the pilot forgot his passport, like or the guy in the tower. What are they? Those guys have the most
Air
stressful
traffic
jobs in the world.
controllers. Yeah.
Yeah, the air traffic controllers. Like the old school guys are chain smoking cigarettes, focused like their life depends on the lives of people in the sky. And
Yeah.
now these air traffic controllers, what are they doing? Are they playing with it? Are they on Instagram? Or like what are who knows what's going on? But I just feel like there's so many different areas in our society where we're starting to see a lack of skill and titles given to those who have not earned it. And I know I'm not exactly going to be popular with that opinion. I know people my age are going to hate me for saying it, but I'm really concerned for the next 7 generations. It's like grandma and grandpa and mom and dad are the only ones that I can say for certain know how to do the job, and I
Yeah.
can't say that for my generation. So yeah, Gavin Newsom, uh, he sucks, dude. He makes the '80s look bad, man. It's like everyone else his age could have done a way better job. It's like they give the helm of the Golden State to the Dulles uh, tool in the shed,
Well, I guess
the least.
it's a legacy, isn't he? From I mean, he's related to Pelosi, and he's from a prominent family, and
It's like a political mafia. You're right, Joe.
yeah,
Hey, they're all connected. I guess they all have Thanksgiving together. You're right. That's a pretty good point. Every
yeah.
November, they all get around, come together, and have a feast. I'm not just talking about Bohemian Grove either. No, those guys are
Right.
cool. I like the Redwoods. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah.
I there's a lot going
Bohemian.
on in California, man. But when
Yeah,
the pandemic happened, it really opened my eyes, man. I really, I mean, I cannot tell you just how much it opened my eyes to see my own state go to the extremes to implement, like, to change everything around, and then I see other states that are kind of like resisting, like they have normal governors who aren't virtue signaling, who aren't. It's like all these far left Democrats virtue signal about every little thing. Meanwhile, everything's going to shit, and it really makes you scratch your head. It keeps you up at night when everything around you is going to hell in a handbasket, and people are voting the same. It's
Have you
really,
thought about leaving California?
I can't do it. I can't do it because I know if I leave, it's there's. I honestly feel like the last pin keeping it all together, Joe. I really do.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you that on your podcast right now, but I unfortunately I got to die on this hill, and so
Mhm.
here I am realizing, just as the great awakening that's happening around the world because we have all this technology in the palm of our hands now, there's also a great self awakening happening as well. Not just like with the collective of humanity, but on an inner level. It's like, here I am my whole life thinking, oh, the Democrats are right, the Republicans are wrong. And then I'm looking around, I'm like, wait a second, I've got it completely wrong. I got it backwards. I live in an upside down world, and the good guys have become the bad guys, and the bad guys have become the good guys. And it took me losing my grandparents, my friends to fentanyl. Uh, I'll tell you, let's get right into it, man. The biggest red pill for me, personally, the biggest red pill for me is when, I'm a nice young man. I'm handsome. I'm intelligent. I'm funny. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I got a personality. I'm not a robot, and I'm a young bachelor, or I was at the time when this happens, right? Because I'm settling down now with my girl, my French fiance, and by the way, yeah, Darren, do you ever think about leaving California, dude? My my French fiance has like 5 houses in Europe. I could go retire right now on a house on top of the hill somewhere in Nice,
Mm.
in the south of France, overlooking the Mediterranean, and smoke and barbecue for the rest of my life. I could take the easy way out right now, Joe. I could have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
Oh, here I am in the trenches on the far left front lines.
So
So
I'm
I hope.
assuming she's planning on staying long term in San
I
Francisco
hope
then
not,
too.
Joe.
Mhm.
That's another thing. Marriage is a difficult thing. Being in a relationship with somebody who wasn't born in the USA comes with it a lot of big questions, right? Does Because if you're an honest person and you love that person and you would want the best for them, regardless of your own personal desires, or you have to find that balance, right? Or maybe you guys have the same goals, short term, long. At the end of the day, Joe, I don't know. I don't know if, because I don't want to leave America and go live in France, and I certainly don't want to force her to abandon her family in Europe to come live in America.
Yeah.
It's one or the other because we can't be in two places at once. And so right now we're living in California, but I really hope she does get to spend more time in Europe. I genuinely would like her to spend more time with her family, and a part of me does feel a little guilty for how much time she has spent with me. As a, and I just and I've been to Europe. I've been,
Yeah.
her
I was gonna
family has
say,
many
maybe you could go over there with her for a while and then you could
for a
trade
summer.
off, do some time over there, do some time
I
over
do
here.
need to help Andre. I need to help Andre Ventura uh, get elected. The far left is also destroying Portugal, as it were. And
Yeah.
sorry about that.
No worries. No
There's
worries.
someone to the right of me right now. So yeah, let's talk about before we get into California and all the finally get into California, all the horrible things happening. My travels to normal places. Or no, let's talk about all the crazy stuff that I experienced because I experienced that before I went to all these normal places. So I think let's. Sorry, there's a crazy guy walking by. I don't know. You
No
never
worries.
know. So
No
many
worries.
wild, and I love the less fortunate, Joe. I'm out here passing out food, clothing, blankets every
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah. Yeah.
make sandwiches. I pass out ponchos. But
Mm.
like, see this guy, he's walking around, he's flipping off everybody, and he's yelling at everyone. I'm gonna give him a pass because he seems a little bit elderly. He might be a vet. He might be losing his mind. I only go after the young men, Joe. I give a
Mm.
pass to the elders and the women and children.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh
Sounds good.
God, hey, I don't know if what I'm doing or saying is right or wrong, but I'm just saying what I'm doing, man. You're
I
take it
I
for what you
understand.
will.
Just to give you a heads up, I should probably wrap this up in about 10 minutes, just because
Yeah,
uh,
you got
taking
a
up
lot going
memories.
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do
Oh,
appreciate
okay,
everything.
man.
Um,
Maybe we'll do a part two. Oh, let me expedite it a little bit. Let's talk about some of the stuff happening in San Francisco.
okay.
So the biggest red pill for me living in San Francisco was when I was living in Chinatown, San Francisco, and it was during the pandemic. It was like November of 2020, and the amount of crime had skyrocketed. The amount of crime locally had skyrocketed, right? And I just remember every other night my door would get kicked in, my girls screaming bloody murder, and I'd have to fight off burglars with my own two bare hands. And sometimes it'd be more than one burglar. And if I fought the first burglar off good enough, the second one would go running away. And
Mhm.
hey, I'm 3-0 for fighting off burglars, man. I don't have a gun, but I'll tell you, man. After fighting off a bunch of burglars with your own two hands, a few times, after your door gets kicked in a few times, after you've heard your girl scream bloody murder enough times, you start to maybe consider utilizing your Second Amendment. You start to like, maybe I should go get some firearm training and kind of learn more about self defense because I can't win them all. One of these days, my door is going to get kicked in, and these guys might have a gun. What am I seeing on the streets of San Francisco under corrupt far left Democrats? We have women giving birth on the sidewalks. We have stillborn babies being found in porta potties. Restaurants are closing down. Our local economy has reached terminal velocity in its economic collapse. Um, Women and children are not safe. Tourists are being targeted. I can't tell you how many times I've walked down the street and I've seen people just get randomly attacked by random lunatics on the street. Half the people that are homeless on the streets of San Francisco are honest Americans who aren't violent. They might be struggling with drugs or mental health, but they're pretty chill. And the other half are very violent criminals, Joe. I'm telling you, these
Mhm.
guys need to
Yeah.
be in asylums or jail. And this is where it really starts. This is where the red and here's the half life of the red pill, Joe. Is
Mhm.
listen to this. I'm working at the Cheesecake Factory, right? By the way, the FBI came in and arrested my boss. He was stealing from the restaurant, including my wages. I'm walking home from the restaurant. I'm walking, and there is the Pinecrest Diner a few blocks away. And so I'm walking home, and I see this restaurant. This lunatic runs into the restaurant, and he grabs a bunch of cash. It's like a fishbowl full of tips, not just $1 or $2, not hundreds of dollars, but the amount, the value. There was a lot of tens and fives and 20s, so I would say over $100.
Yeah.
And this robber went in, grabbed that out of the fishbowl, and he took off running. And the workers there didn't stop him. And I saw him, and I don't know. I chased him down, and I stopped him, and I caught him at the BART train, and I bear hugged him. When I stop these criminals, Joe, I don't have a knife. I'm not stabbing anyone. I'm not even punching anybody. I'm giving these guys a nice bear hug until the police get there, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm letting them know the people they're hurting are actually their brothers and sisters, not somebody to steal from, right? So here's the kicker: the local newspaper, which is more of a propaganda machine, made me out to be the bad guy, made the criminal out to be the good guy, and downplayed the whole event. So
Mm.
then, for a month or two, I felt really, even though I was in the right, even though I felt ashamed because I live in an upside down world. The good guys have become the bad guys, the bad guys have become the good guys. And so for a few months, I couldn't understand, like, these guys hate me because I stopped a restaurant robbery. What's going on in my country, right? So yeah, I did vote for Trump. But guess what? It's a small world, and just like the movies, they let this guy out of jail, and that's a problem, right? law-abiding citizens, tax-paying citizens, no criminal records. They're doing hard time, and meanwhile, these criminals, these violent lunatics who are on drugs or extensive histories, they're getting let out of jail the next day. And so, what's happening is the guy who I had to stop the first time, who I placed under citizen's arrest the first time when he robbed the restaurant, he got out of jail. He went back to the same place, the same intersection, Joe. I can't make this stuff up. And he
Yeah.
assaulted an innocent Latina woman. And
Mhm.
I stopped him a second time. I placed him under a citizen's arrest the second time. And it wasn't until the police had him against the wall and were finally, I don't even look these guys in the eye anymore, Joe.
Mhm.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at, I just, I don't know. I see all red. I see all black. I don't know. I black out when I, but long story short, I was like, holy shit, that's the guy who robbed the restaurant the other week. And he's back out here again. And he just assaulted an innocent Latina woman. And I had to place him under a citizen's arrest the second time. And so I have my citizen's arrest receipts from both times. I got the video and I upload it. And guess what? The newspaper still didn't redact it or take back their article or nothing, right? So then a week later, man, a week later, we'll have to do a part two, brother. I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to come back anytime.
Cool.
This
Cool.
was like
Cool.
one of the best podcasts I've been a part of. You're one of the
Yeah.
best hosts I've had the privilege of speaking with, man. Real easy to talk to.
Thank you, man.
Christ. That wind just knocked over all of my coffee. So
Oh
I want to say,
no.
now we're good. I'll buy another one. I just got my check today. I'm feeling great.
Good,
Um,
good, good.
right. I just got, but it's the first of the month. I really ought to fetch it over to my landlord so his coffers can be filled. But that's the right thing to do, actually. No, even though it sucks, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what was I gonna
Yeah.
say?
It's no worries.
No, there's no honor. I mean, there's no dishonor in paying your bills.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with paying for your groceries at the grocery
Oh, you
store.
locked
But
up on me.
living in San Francisco, man,
Yeah.
it, can you hear me
You're good
now?
now. You're good now. Yeah.
So
You froze up for
here's
a
the
second
kicker.
there. Yeah.
Here's the kicker. A week later, I'm walking by another restaurant, different restaurant, and another person runs in to try. I'm at the counter. I'm ordering food. Next thing you know, I get bent over the counter, and someone's trying to reach over me and grab the money out of the register till. And
Mm.
at first I thought, am I like, what the hell's going on? I'm not getting, nobody's hugging me from behind. Someone's trying to take the money. So then it clicked in my head, and I grabbed. This guy's trying to rob the restaurant I'm ordering at. Hell no, he picked the wrong restaurant that day. So I grab his arm and I pull him to the ground and I hold him down until the police get there. And I got to say, San Francisco police have they really have stepped up their response time with a
Oh,
lot
that's
of these
good.
things
Yeah.
happening. I really do believe Lurie is a much better mayor than Breed. Is he perfect? No, nobody's perfect. But I really
Mm.
think people shouldn't judge our new mayor until it's been a few months. You can't be judging our mayor and it's only been a few weeks. But let me go. Let me finish this. I stop a second restaurant robbery, man. So this
Mhm.
is the second restaurant robbery in Union Square that I've stopped, and not a single peep out of the newspaper, man. I'm telling you, crickets.
Mm.
But hey, guess what? The restaurant owner said thank you. He offered me a complimentary meal, and I feel really vindicated. But besides that, I've been doing the vigilante work slash citizen journalism work for years now. I've been a broken record since the pandemic, and I think we have not built back better at all. If this is what they call build back better, uh, and yeah, so like you're saying, Gavin Newsom wants to run for president, and he's out of his rabbit ass mind, if you ask me. How can you destroy an entire state and then expect to run an entire country? And America dodged a bullet with Trump becoming president, but man, California is not out of the woods yet. Kamala Harris wants to become governor, and we cannot allow that to happen at all whatsoever. I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping.
It's crazy. Well, to wrap up, could you let everybody know where to find you on the internet? And thank you so much for doing this. I
Yeah,
really
we
appreciate
will
this.
do a part two, right? Hopefully. My
Sure.
bad.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah. Yeah.
little
Yeah. We'll
crazy.
definitely.
It's a crazy world we live in. I'm pretty sleep deprived, and I'm feeling a little manic. But you're one of those podcasts where you don't get a script or you didn't tell me what to say. Just let yourself be yourself. And I think we got a really good conversation today. If folks are interested in anything I'm doing, just search World Peace Movement. Uh, yeah, I'm in the far left Lions Den, the ultra blue Democrat stronghold, San Francisco. I am surrounded on all sides by the far left. Every day is a tooth and nail battle uphill for every inch. And long story short, man, I've been defending our grocery store. That's what I was doing before I did this podcast. That's what I'll be doing after this podcast. And yeah, I guess to answer your first question, how do I do it? Why do I do it? I have an insatiable appetite. Now that I'm stopping these bad guys, now that I'm stopping these thieves, I just want to stop more. I just want to, now that I'm fighting, I just want to get my hands even more dirty. I'm sending a message to the streets. San Francisco is not a free for all anymore. And I want the grocery stores to stay open. I'm prioritizing families and tourists over criminals. And I really appreciate it. Man, I feel like it's hard to talk about all these things in such a just like a couple hour podcast, so we might
Yeah.
have to do part two.
Sure. Yeah, we'll definitely lock it down. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And everybody, I'll tag you. I'm gonna put a link up on X, and
Awesome.
I appreciate it so much. And we'll definitely do it again soon. And to all
What
our
an
listeners,
opportunity. What an opportunity, man. I appreciate it. The privilege is all mine. It's an honor to be here, and you're a great host. And I felt super comfortable just being myself. And, it's such a crazy world I live in. I'm often not allowed to share my voice here in San Francisco. They want to
yeah,
silence
yeah.
me. It's like being the last honest man in Babylon. They don't like me too much, but Joe, I appreciate you being kind enough to have me on the show, man. At a time when I am being excommunicated and ostracized for being a Trump supporter in San Francisco, I appreciate you extending an olive branch across the political aisle.
Well, it's my pleasure. And to all our listeners, until the next time.